The dare. It started as a joke, a way to kill boredom on a Friday night. There were 5 of us crammed into Min's attic bedroom. Me, Tommy, Jace, Leela, Hannah, and Min. The lights were off. A single flashlight flickering in the center of our circle like a dying campfire. Outside, wind howled against the old wooden panels of Min's house. The perfect setting for ghost stories. Min had just pulled up a creepy post from some obscure online forum called The Last Door. He read it out loud. This game must be played at night. You'll need 5 candles, salt, and a name any name. Even one you make up. But once you call it, you must ask permission to say goodbye. That's it. Jay scoffed, tossing a gummy bear into his mouth. Sounds like one of those clickbait rituals people make up to scare kids. Leela rolled her eyes. So what, you chicken, Jace? I just think it's stupid. Perfect, Min grinned. Then you won't mind going first. And just like that, the dare was born. We weren't exactly skeptics, but we weren't believers either. We were 17, riding the thrill of being almost adults and still young enough to believe we were invincible. We'd grown up on horror movies and creepypastas, the kind of kids who laughed at jump scares, but secretly slept with the lights on. I'll get the candles, Hannah offered, brushing her long black hair over one shoulder. She was always the most curious about the occult. I once caught her sketching runes in her notebook during math class. Min brought the salterdienery table salt from his kitchen and drew a careful circle on the wooden floor. The attic creaked beneath us like it was holding its breath. We each placed a candle in front of us and lit them one by one. The room glowed with soft, flickering light. Shadows danced along the slanted ceiling. Then came the name. What do we call it? I asked. How about something creepy? Leela suggested. Like Eloan. It sounds old. Eloan it is, Min said. Everyone ready? We joined hands, forming a ring around the candles. Min led the chant, reading from the post. Spirits near, spirits far, we call to thee by name, Eloan. Enter this circle. Speak, if you hear us. Show us a sign. Nothing happened. We looked at each other, half smiling, half expecting a prank. Jace coughed. Hannah closed her eyes. Min repeated it. Still nothing. Then click. The flashlight died. All 5 candles flickered. The one in front of Jace sputtered out. What the hell? Jace said, sitting up straight. You did that. I didn't do anything, Min said quickly. I swear. I felt cold, Hannah whispered. Should we stop? I asked, unsure now. No, Min said. We have to say goodbye. He raised his voice and said, Eloan, we release you. Return to where you came. Thank you. He blew out his candle. One by one, the others followed. I hesitated for a moment before blowing mine out last. Darkness swallowed the room. For a moment, no one said anything. Then we all burst into nervous laughter. That was so dumb, Jace said. You actually sounded scared. You're the one who jumped when your candle went out, Leela teased. I didn't jump. You did. I didn't. We laughed, louder this time, trying to shake off the lingering tension. Min clicked the flashlight back on. It worked perfectly. No one shined it around the attic. Everything was as it had been. Game over. Or so we thought. That night, I couldn't sleep. It wasn't the ritual, not really. It was the dream I had after. In it, I was standing in Min's attic again, alone. The candles were lit, but the room felt wrong, larger, darker, endless. I looked around, and in the shadows, I saw her. A woman. She was tall, pale, wearing a long black dress that moved like smoke. Her face was blurry, but her eyes, they were there, black, bottomless. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She just watched. I woke up in a sweat, heart racing. It was 3 a.m. The house was silent, too silent. I got up to get a glass of water. As I passed the hallway mirror, I froze. There was a smear on the glass, long, finger-like streaks, like someone had touched it from the inside. I didn't tell anyone, not yet. At school the next day, we all acted normal. No one mentioned the game. Until lunch. "I had a weird dream last night," Leela said casually, poking at her sandwich, "about the attic." Everyone stopped eating. "Same," Hannah said. "Was she watching you?" Leela nodded slowly. "Okay, that's creepy," I said, "because I saw her too." Min looked disturbed. So did I. We turned to Jace. He didn't speak. He just nodded. It wasn't a coincidence. We all knew it. Something had happened. Something was wrong. That weekend, I visited Min again. Just the two of us. We sat in the attic with the lights on this time. No candles, no salt. "I found the post again," Min said, showing me his phone. "But it's gone. Deleted. The whole thread." "Someone must have taken it down," I said. I checked the cache. There was a comment under the post before it vanished. What did it say? He scrolled down to a screenshot he'd taken before it was removed. A single reply. "If it answers, it stays." We didn't know what that meant. Not yet. But we started to notice things. Lila's dog wouldn't go near her bedroom anymore. Just stood at the door and growled. Jay swore he kept hearing someone whisper his name while he was in the shower. Hannah began finding long strands of black hair on her pillow. Hair that wasn't hers. And me, I kept dreaming about the attic. Each time, Eloin was closer. In the last one, she smiled. We met again the next Friday. Same group, same attic. But this time, we didn't laugh. "We need to end it," Hannah said. "For real this time." "But how?" I asked. "No more candles," Min said. "Just salt. Salt is supposed to protect. We make the circle and sit inside it. Then we say goodbye again. All together." "Why didn't it work the first time?" Leela asked. Min hesitated. "I think someone didn't say goodbye." Everyone looked round the room. Jace raised a hand slowly. "I didn't. I thought it was dumb. I just blew out the candle." "Are you serious?" Hannah snapped. "You had to say the words." "I didn't think it mattered." It mattered. That night, we tried again. We sat inside the salt circle, holding hands. Jace apologized. We all said the release chant in unison. "Eloin, we release you. Return to where you came. Thank you." We sat in silence for a full minute. The air stayed cold. A shiver ran down my spine. Then tap. From behind the attic door. 3 slow taps. We all froze. Min reached out and slowly opened the door. No one was there. But the salt line at the threshold was broken, as if something had stepped inside. "Circle of salt, candlelight," whispered name. The second time we gathered in Min's attic, it wasn't for fun. It was for survival. No one cracked jokes. No one brought snacks. We just sat in a tight circle as Min poured salt, careful not to break the line. The attic seemed colder than usual, even though it was the middle of July. There was a stillness to the air, heavy and watching, like the room itself was listening. We each held a white candle, unlit. Hannah double-checked the door and windows were locked. She'd brought sage from her aunt's store, even though she admitted she didn't really know how to use it. "I read we're supposed to burn it in the corners of the room," she whispered. "No open flames until we're ready," Min said. "Once we start, we can't stop." Jay stood in the far corner, arms crossed, chewing his lip. He hadn't been himself since he admitted skipping the chant last time. He looked pale, almost sick. "You okay?" I asked him. He nodded, but didn't speak. Leela sat beside me, legs crossed, her candle resting on her knees. Her eyes were red. She hadn't slept much. "She was in my room last night," she said quietly. "I didn't see her, but I heard her breathing." None of us doubted her. We were all being haunted, whether we admitted it out loud or not. Min finally sat down and pulled out a folded paper. "I printed a new ritual," he said. "One that's supposed to actually banish a lingering spirit." "Where did you find it?" Hannah asked. He hesitated. "A mirror site of the last door. Hidden link." Someone uploaded it last week under the title Purging Eloan. I stared at the bold black letters on the page. The circle of return. How to send her back. What's the catch? I asked. Min glanced at each of us. We have to invite her in. Then we close the circle on her. What do you mean invite her in? Leela said. It's complicated, but the chant pulls her to the center. If we hold the circle and finish the words exactly, she'll be bound to the salt and candlelight. Then we blow the candles out and seal the name. Jace let out a low breath. And if we mess it up, then we give her permission to stay, forever. The room went silent again. No one moved for a full minute. Then Hannah struck the first match. She lit her candle, and one by one, we followed. The flames cast long shadows on the slanted ceiling. The circle of salt gleamed faintly like frost. Min unfolded the paper again and began reading. Spirits of shadow, spirits that wander. We call you by the name that lingers sullen. Through circle unbroken, through fire and salt. Come forth, come forward. Enter the ring, be seen. We repeated the chant together, our voices low but clear. As we did, the air changed. It was like breathing in ice. My skin prickled. My breath turned visible in the air. The candle flames began to dance wildly, flickering against an unseen wind. Then the attic creaked. Footsteps, soft, slow, coming down from nowhere. Above us, beneath us. No one was upstairs, and no one had been downstairs since Min's parents left that afternoon. Leela grabbed my hand. Stay calm, Min whispered. She's listening. We kept going. Eloan, we call. Eloan, we see. Step into the light. Answer and be free. Eloan, by salt and fire. Come and be known. Come and be bound. The candle in front of Jace suddenly flared then went out. No, he started, but Min held up his hand. Don't move. Do not break the circle. I looked to the side. Jace's face was pale, lit only by our flickering flames. Behind him something moved. Not a shape exactly, a blur, a shimmer in the air like heat above asphalt. But cold. It drifted, slow and deliberate, just outside the salt. She's here, Hannah whispered. The air thickened. My ears began to ring. Next chant, Min said, voice shaking. Hold strong. He started again, louder now. By this name we call, and by this circle we bind. Eloan, return to where time forgot. Return and trouble us no longer. Be sealed. We echoed the words. The moment we finished the last syllable, every candle flared height and dimmed. For a second, it felt like we were inside a vacuum, a pulling sensation, as if something were being sucked inward. The shimmer in the air contracted, forming something vaguely human. A woman, face still blurred, black hair swaying. She stood just beyond the circle. Then she stepped forward, right onto the salt line. Where her foot touched, the salt hissed and split open. The circle broke. A scream tore through the room, high, shrill, inhuman. Jace fell backward, knocking over his unlit candle. His hand had brushed the broken salt line. No, Min shouted. Wind slammed into us, real wind, inside a locked attic. The candles all went out at once. Darkness swallowed everything. I couldn't see, couldn't breathe. Then, laughter, a whispery giggle, echoing from every corner of the room. Tommy, it said. My name, then Jace's, then Hannah's, all of us, one after the other. Tommy, it whispered again, right in my ear. I turned and saw her. Not a blur now, not a shadow. A face, sunken, pale, hollow eyes that glowed faintly white. A stitched mouth except the stitches were breaking. The smile she gave me wasn't human. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. Then I felt Lila's hand grab mine. Light, she screamed, strike a match. Hannah fumbled in the dark. 1, 2, click. Flame. The tiny light bloomed in the darkness, and as it did, Eloan hissed reckling like a spider hit with water. I reached into my pocket and grabbed my lighter, flicked it on. Min followed, then Jace. Suddenly the room had four small flames, each one pushing back the darkness a little more. She stood at the edge of the circle, what was left of it, flickering in and out. Her face no longer blurred. It was decaying, rotting. Her eyes were sockets now, empty but focused. Her mouth split open as if screaming, though no sound came out. She lifted one arm and pointed straight at Jace. "No," he whispered. "Please, no. Reform the circle," Min yelled. Hannah tore open the salt bag and began pouring in a wide arc, sealing the broken space. The moment the circle was whole again, a flash of light exploded in the center. Eloan screamed an awful, tearing shriek and vanished. Just like that. Gone. The wind stopped, the air stilled, the attic fell silent again. For 5 minutes, no one moved. Then Min spoke. "Everyone okay?" Jace was still on the floor, shaking. Leela was crying silently. Hannah leaned against the wall, breathing hard. I sat back, heart racing, trying to make sense of what just happened. "Did it work?" I asked. Min shook his head slowly. "I don't know. We didn't talk much after that. We each went home in silence. Our group chat stayed empty for 2 days. Until Monday. That's when Jay stopped showing up to school. He didn't answer texts. His mom said he wasn't feeling well. Exhaustion, she told the principal. By Thursday, his house was empty. Moved out overnight. No forwarding address. Just gone." Min messaged us late that night. "There's a new post on the last door. It's a photo." I clicked the link he sent. A photo of Jace, standing in the middle of a circle of salt, eyes closed, a black figure behind him, smiling. Captioned, "One must stay, the others must forget." The flicker. The flame on one candle violently flickers, then goes out. The air turns cold. They laugh nervously. "It's just wind," Hannah said, her voice unconvincing. "There's no wind in here," I replied, glancing at the window. It was shut tight. The attic door. No cracks, no draft. Nothing that could explain why Jace's candle had gone out, again. Min relit it with a trembling hand. But the silence that followed wasn't the same as before. It wasn't peaceful or empty. It was waiting. We had tried the ritual again, or some version of it, hoping that maybe if we repeated it, finished the chant correctly, fixed the broken circle, we could reverse whatever we had done. But all it did was make her stronger. Eloan. She wasn't a whisper anymore. She was here, and she was watching. "Let's take a break," Leela said softly. She was pale, sweat clinging to her forehead despite the cold. "I need air." "We can't leave the circle," Min said. "Not until the candle burns all the way down." "Whose rule is that?" I asked. "It's in the forum," he said. "I found it buried in a reply thread before it got deleted again." Jace would have had something sarcastic to say if he were still here, but he was gone. No one had seen him in nearly a week. Not even his parents. The day after the second ritual, he stopped answering calls. Then his house was empty. Leela said she dreamed of him last night. He was standing on a pier at the edge of a black lake, arms at his side, staring straight ahead. Eloan was behind him, she whispered. She had her hand on his shoulder, like she owned him. Min believed it. We all did. That was the thing about this haunting, it blurred the line between dream and waking. What we saw in our sleep followed us when we opened our eyes. Hannah hadn't spoken in 10 minutes. She was staring at her candle, watching the flame bend and twist. "She's close," she whispered suddenly. We all looked up. "What?" Min asked. Hannah blinked slowly. "I can feel her, right outside the circle." I felt it too, though I didn't want to admit it. A pressure like being underwater. My ears had a faint ring. The room felt stretched, like we were being observed from all sides. Then my candle flickered. I held my breath. 1, 2. It steadied. We said nothing for a long time. Then Min's phone lit up with a notification. He picked it up. "What is it?" Leela asked. He turned the screen so we could all see. It was a text. From Jace. "Don't let her in." We froze. "Is this a joke?" Hannah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Min shook his head. It came from his number. Leela pulled out her phone and checked. He's still blocked on mine. After he sent me that voicemail. "What voicemail?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. It was just him breathing, but not normal, like he was struggling, and in the background. She paused, swallowing. I heard a woman laughing, quiet, but right next to the phone. She showed me the audio file, 19 seconds long. Timestamped 2 nights ago. "We need to leave," Hannah said. "This isn't helping." "We can't," Min said. "If we stop now, we leave the circle unfinished. She might already be inside." "She already is," I muttered. Another candle went out. Hannah's this time. She screamed. Min jumped and tried to relight it, but the lighter sparked and died. Again. He shook it violently, hands trembling. "She's picking us off," I said, standing. "We have to break the circle and run." "No," Min shouted. "That's what she wants. She wants us to panic, to break the line." "She already broke it," I replied. "You just didn't see it." Leela was sobbing quietly now. Her phone vibrated. She looked down. Another text from Jace. "She was never outside. She was always one of you." We all read it, and then we looked at each other. The fear wasn't just supernatural now. It was real. "What does that mean?" Hannah whispered. "It means she's inside the circle," Min said. "She's wearing one of us." "No," Leela shook her head violently. "Don't do that. Don't turn this into that. This isn't some possession game." But she was already backing away from Hannah. And I was, too. Hannah looked confused. "What, you think it's me?" I was the first one to believe this. "I'm the one who brought the sage." "That's exactly what someone possessed would say," Leela hissed. "You were the one who let your candle go out first," Hannah snapped. "And Tommy, you were the one who didn't even want to finish the chant." "Hey," I said, raising my hands, "this isn't helping." Min's phone buzzed again. Another message. "Unknown number. Only for will leave. One must stay." We stared at it in silence. There were 4 of us left. Just like the message said. "She's playing with us," I muttered. "Dividing us, making us turn on each other." "That's what she does," Min said. "She finds cracks and gets inside them." Leela stood, eyes darting to the attic door. "Then maybe I'm done playing." "No, Leela, don't." But she stepped outside the salt circle. The moment her foot crossed the line, every candle went out. Darkness swallowed us. The cold returned, but colder now, as if death itself had entered the room. I scrambled for my lighter, flicked it again. Nothing. Leela screamed. I heard a thud and a dragging sound. Someone shouted her name, maybe Min, maybe Hannah. Then, silence. When I finally got my lighter to spark, the flame revealed only 3 of us. Leela was gone. Not a trace left. Just her phone still lit. One last message on the screen. From Jace. It chose her. We didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. Min sat back down inside the salt circle, shaking violently. Hannah was hugging her knees, rocking slightly. I just stared at the spot where Leela had been. She hadn't screamed like someone in pain. She had screamed like someone realizing too late that it wasn't a game. The attic felt smaller now, heavy, like the air itself was folding in. Then Min said something I'll never forget. I think it was always going to be her." "What do you mean?" I asked. "She was the one who suggested the name Eloan." I stared at him. "No," I said. "You read it off the post." He shook his head slowly. I said, "What should we call it?" And she said, "Eloan, it sounds old." That name wasn't in the post. The candle between us flared suddenly, then dimmed. A voice echoed from somewhere behind me. Not a whisper this time. A voice like gravel and wind and ash. "I told you I never left." The knock. A sudden knock at the attic door. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Knock, knock, knock. We all froze. Hannah's breath caught in her throat. Min dropped his lighter. The sound of it hitting the wooden floor felt louder than the knock itself. The candle flames didn't flicker. They went still, motionless. Like the air itself had gone completely still. "Who is that?" Hannah whispered, barely audible. But we all knew. It wasn't someone. It was her. Eloan. She had taken Leela. She had spoken from the dark. And now she was knocking. Min crawled toward the edge of the circle, staying inside the salt line. His eyes locked on the attic door. "No one open it," I said firmly. "I wasn't going to," Min muttered, though I wasn't sure if that was the truth. His hand hovered over the salt, his candle casting nervous light across his face. Another knock. This time softer, slower. Knock, knock. Then silence again. We waited. 10 seconds. 20. A full minute. No movement, no whisper, no breathing but our own. I reached out and grabbed Hannah's hand. She flinched, but didn't pull away. "We're not letting her in," I said. "She can't get in unless we invite her. The door's locked. The circle's sealed." "What if she already isn't?" Hannah asked. I had no answer. Min returned to the center. His face was drenched in sweat, even though the attic still felt like a freezer. "We need to end it," he said. "Tonight." I nodded. "How?" "There's one more ritual," he said. "One no one talks about because it's not supposed to be tried. It's not about sending her back. It's about trapping her. For good." "What does that mean?" "We build a vessel," Min said. "Something to hold her." "You mean like a box?" Hannah asked. "Yeah, a physical object. The energy gets pulled into it, sealed by fire and name." "Where did you find this?" I asked. Min hesitated. "Not online. Jace gave it to me." I stared. "You talked to him?" "Not in person. But the night after Leela disappeared he messaged me again." "What did he say?" Min reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Handwritten, in jagged, uneven letters. "Take something old, burned, hollow. Draw her name inside. Say the chant 3 times. Then seal it with wax. If the box holds, she stays." Hannah leaned in. "What happens if the box doesn't hold?" Min didn't answer. He just looked down. "We found an old wooden jewelry box in Min's mom's donation pile downstairs. It was small, blackened at the edges, and missing a hinge perfect, apparently. We brought it upstairs and placed it in the center of the salt circle. I carved her name inside the lid with a rusted nail, Eloan." Min lit another candle. Hannah pulled out the stick of sealing wax from her backpack. She'd brought it on a whim after researching protection rituals the week before. "We each have to say the chant," Min said, "and mean it. No backing out. No fear." "Too late for that," I muttered. Still, we knelt around the box. Hannah went first. "Darkness bound, spirits stray. Into this box, you fade away. By name and fire, here you dwell. In silence stay, within the shell." She passed the candle to Min. He repeated the chant, louder, stronger. Then it was my turn. As I spoke the words, I could feel the air change. Not colder this time, but tighter. Like something was being pulled forward, unwillingly. The box vibrated slightly on the floor. Hannah gasped. "She's here." Min handed me the wax and a lighter. "Seal it, now." I struck the flame and held it to the red wax, letting it drip into the groove between the lid and base of the box. Thick drops oozed down like blood. The moment the wax hit the carved name inside, we heard it. A scream. Muffled, distant yet so close. A woman's scream. Long, agonized, furious. Then thud. The attic door banged once, twice, 3 times. Thud, thud, thud. "Seal it faster," Min shouted. I pressed the lid down hard. The wax hissed, then hardened. The moment the lid clicked shut, the sound stopped. No more banging. No more screaming. Only silence. The attic went completely still. Even the candle flames steadied. Then the box cracked. A hairline fracture spread across the lid, from one end to the other, as if something had punched the inside. "No," Hannah whispered. "No, no, no." Min reached out to touch it. "Don't," I yelled. Too late. His fingers brushed the box, and all 4 candles went out. I was back in the lake dream. Only this time, I wasn't standing at the edge. I was in the water. It was dark and cold and endless beneath me. Something was moving beneath the surface, slow and vast. I couldn't see it, but I felt it. She rose from the water like smoke. Pale arms, hollow face, her mouth sewn shut again. She touched my forehead, and I heard her speak, without speaking. "The box is not strong enough. One of you must carry me." I tried to run, but my limbs didn't work. I sank beneath the water, surrounded by her whisper. "One must stay. One must carry. One must forget." I woke up gasping. So did Hannah. So did Min. We all looked at the box. Still sealed. Still cracked. "What did you dream?" I asked, heart pounding. Min's lips were pale. She said one of us has to carry her. "Carry?" "Like a host," Hannah said. "A body." "No," I said. "We sealed her." She screamed. "It worked." "Not fully," Min replied. "The box wasn't strong enough. She's inside it, but not completely. Some part of her is still here." We sat in silence, watching the cracked box. Then, the knock came again. 3 slow knocks. But not from the door. From inside the attic. From the far wall just beneath the old mirror. Knuckles on wood. Knock. 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 The mirror fogged suddenly, as if someone had breathed on it from behind, and words began to form on the glass. "I'm already in." We left the attic before dawn. Min wrapped the box in 3 layers of cloth and locked it in his dad's gun safe. Hannah drew protective runes around her bedroom with chalk. I couldn't sleep. I stared at the hallway mirror in my house until sunrise, waiting for something to move behind me. It never did. But the next day at school, Min didn't show up. His phone went straight to voicemail. I biked to his house after class. His mother said he was sick. When I asked if I could see him, she said, "He's not talking right now. Just give him space." I left a note. He never replied. That night, I had another dream. Jace was in it, and Leela. They stood on opposite sides of a circle, reaching out to me. "Eloan is still here," Jace said. "She's waiting," Leela added. Then they both looked behind me. I turned and saw myself, standing in the mirror, smiling. Something stayed behind. We blew out the candles, one by one. Hannah went first, then Min. I was last, watching the flame dance just before it vanished into smoke. The room darkened, and with it came a strange calm, unnatural, to quiet. Like the attic had stopped breathing. For the first time in hours, no one spoke. It was over, or at least we told ourselves it was. The box sat in the center of the circle, wrapped and sealed, silent now. We didn't move it. Min said it had to stay where it was for a full day, untouched, or the binding wouldn't hold. So we left it. We stepped carefully over the salt line, blew out the final flame at the attic stairs, and walked down in silence. I went home that night with a heavy chest and burning eyes. Every time I blinked, I saw her, Eloan, in the mirror, in my dreams, in the space between the flickering candlelight. But now it was done, sealed, banished. At least, that's what we needed to believe. The first thing I noticed the next morning was the mirror in my hallway. The fog was back, a perfect oval shape in the center of the glass, like someone had pressed their face against it in the middle of the night and breathed. I stood there staring at it for a full minute. My reflection looked different. The face was mine, but the eyes fell off, to still, to knowing, like someone else was behind them, watching me through my own skin. I wiped the mirror clean. The shape didn't fade. I stepped back, unsettled. My phone buzzed. It was Hannah. I don't think it worked. I met her and Min in front of his house that afternoon. He looked terrible, pale, exhausted. His eyes were bloodshot, and he hadn't shaved. I didn't sleep, he muttered. None of us did, Hannah said. We went up to the attic. The salt circle was untouched. The box, still wrapped in cloth, sat in the center, unmoved. But the air, it was wrong. The attic used to feel musty, old, full of that drywood smell. Now it felt damp, like something had soaked into the walls overnight. Min peeled the cloth back slowly. The box was cracked wider. A thin, black line now split the lid completely, like it had been pried open or was about to. She's still in there, he whispered, but she's not asleep. I looked around the attic. The shadows had shifted. Not moved, shifted. Corners looked deeper. Walls looked farther. The light from the bulb overhead didn't reach like it used to. And the mirror, it had something written on it. 3 faint words, drawn with a finger. Who stayed behind? We turned to each other. None of us spoke, because we all had the same fear. Maybe Eloan wasn't sealed completely. Maybe she had split. Maybe part of her stayed behind. That night, I didn't sleep at home. I stayed on the couch at Hannah's place. Her mom was away on a business trip, so it was just the 2 of us. We locked the doors, lit 3 candles, drew a salt line across every window, just in case. We sat in the living room in silence. Neither of us wanted to say it out loud, but the air felt wrong here too. Heavy, not just spiritually, physically. It felt like the house had sunk an inch lower into the ground, like something was dragging it down from beneath. I saw her again last night, Hannah said softly. Not in a dream. I was awake. Where? In the mirror. I was brushing my teeth, and she stepped up behind me. I stiffened. Did she move? No, just stood there. But the worst part, she stopped. What? She didn't look at me. She looked through me, like I wasn't the one she was waiting for. I didn't respond, because I had the same dream. And in mine, she didn't even acknowledge me. She was looking for someone else. Someone still alive. Someone who had stayed. Min stopped answering texts the next day. We tried calling. Nothing. By 9 p.m., Hannah and I went to his house. Lights off. Curtains drawn. His car still in the driveway. We knocked. No answer. We called his name. No reply. Finally, I used the spare key he once gave me, and we slipped inside. It was cold. Not air conditioner on to high cold, but basement and winter cold. Every surface felt damp. The walls sweated. Min, Hannah called, voice trembling. We checked the living room. Empty. The kitchen, empty. Then the hallway mirror. A fresh message was smeared across it. I never left. We both turned and ran up the stairs. Min's bedroom door was closed. We knocked. No answer. I opened it slowly. The room was empty, but the attic hatch was open, ladder down. I felt ice in my chest. We climbed. Every step creaked like it was screaming at us to stop. At the top, the attic was lit with a single candle. Min stood in the center, alone. The box sat at his feet wide open. And inside was nothing. No shadow, no figure, not even wax. Just an empty shell. I had to, Min said without turning. She said someone had to stay. What did you do? Hannah whispered. I let her in. I stepped closer. Min, what are you saying? He finally turned to us, and his eyes weren't his anymore. They were black, but not fully, only round the edges. Like something was leaking into him from the inside out. She's safer in me, he said calmly. She chose me because I was willing. Willing to what? I demanded. To remember. The others, Jace, Leela, they forgot everything. They're in places now, scattered, safe, but erased. Min stepped toward us. She doesn't want to hurt. She just doesn't want to be alone. As long as someone remembers. She sleeps. I grabbed Hannah's hand and stepped back. "No, this isn't you." His face twitched, not in pain and amusement. "You're wrong, Tommy," he said. "This is exactly me." Then behind him the shadows moved again. Faster now, all at once. A pulse, like breath, and the mirror beside the attic stairs shattered. Every shard reflected a different version of Min's face, and in one of them, mine. Smiling, we ran. Out of the attic, out of the house, into the street. No one followed. The night was dead silent. We sat on the curb, trembling, watching the house. After 10 minutes, the attic light went out. We never saw Min again. That was 3 weeks ago. Hannah doesn't talk much anymore. She burned every mirror in her house. Won't go near reflections. I moved in with my uncle in another city, switched schools, deleted every photo I had from that year. But sometimes, I still see her. Not in my dreams, in my memories, when I walk past glass, or hear something move when I know I'm alone. And always, I remember what Min said. As long as someone remembers, she sleeps. I think about forgetting, but I can't, because something stayed behind, and it's watching me, from inside the mirror, waiting for me to slip, to invite her back in. Whispers at 3 a.m. That night, each of us woke up at exactly 3 a.m. No alarms, no noise, just woke up, as if something called us out of sleep, softly, deliberately. I sat up in my uncle's guest bedroom, heart already pounding, before my eyes adjusted to the dark. The clock on the wall, the old ticking kind with glowing green hands, read 3 o'clock. The room was cold, but not like before, not attic cold, not ghost cold. This was a personal cold, like the breath of something standing too close. I didn't want to look, but I turned my head anyway. Nothing there. Just the dark silhouette of the desk, the closet door slightly cracked, and the mirror on the far wall catching a bit of moonlight from the window. And that's when I heard it. A whisper. Faint, delicate, but so clear. "Tommy." I froze. It didn't come from outside, or behind the wall. It came from the mirror. "Don't forget." My skin turned to ice. I got out of bed slowly, grabbed the blanket around my shoulders, and crossed the room like I was wading into a frozen lake. My feet were numb. My chest was tight. I stood in front of the mirror. There was nothing behind me, just my reflection. But it wasn't breathing when I was. It blinked 1 second too late, and its mouth moved, without mine. It whispered, "One must stay, one must carry, one must forget. You chose none." Hannah woke up gasping. Her phone screen lit beside her on the nightstand. 3 a.m. At first, she thought she heard the wind, but her windows were shut. Then she thought maybe the house creaked, but the creaking was rhythmic, like breathing. She sat up, heart pounding, and that's when the voice came. "Hannah." It didn't sound angry. It sounded mournful, like a child whispering after a nightmare. "Don't leave me here." She covered her ears, but the whisper came from inside her head. She stood, trembling, and turned toward her bedroom mirror. The surface was dark, fogged, and there in the middle was a handprint, small, childlike. It began to slide upward, dragging invisible fingers across the glass from the inside. And then the voice again. "You promised, you lit the fire, now burn with me." She screamed, ran from her room, and every mirror in her hallway cracked as she passed. I called her the next morning. We didn't even say hello. "I heard her," I said. "So did I," Hannah whispered. "What time?" 3. "Same." She didn't speak for a while. Then she said, "Do you think Min?" "Don't," I cut in. "We can't." But it was too late. We were both thinking it. If she was whispering to us now, then maybe the box hadn't sealed her at all. Maybe Min hadn't become her host. Maybe we all were still carrying pieces of her. We met at the old park where we used to hang out after school. It was cloudy, the sky low and heavy, and the wind didn't move the trees, just made them lean. We sat on the swings, Neither of us touched the ground. "We have to do something," Hannah said. "We can't keep pretending this is over." I nodded. "I think it's been building. Each night, the whispers get closer." "She's not haunting the attic anymore," she said. "She's haunting us." We didn't go to school that day. We walked back through every place the group had been. The alley where we found the link to the last door. The bookstore where Leela dared us to play the summoning game. The overpass where Jace took the first video of the shadow in the mirror. Each place felt thin, like the world was holding its breath. And at each one, we saw something. A flicker of a reflection in a puddle. A voice half finished in the wind. A feeling like being stared at from behind and above, even when nothing was there. "She's still tethered," Hannah said, "to all of it." "No," I whispered, "to us." That night, I tried something different. I stayed awake. I sat in front of the mirror with a notebook and wrote down every thought I had, every memory, every moment that felt off. 2 a.m. all quiet. To 30 distant rustling. Might have been trees. To 51 room temperature dropped. No wind. To 59 silence. 3 a.m. she came. Not all at once. Not with a scream. Just arrival. The reflection blinked, then whispered, "I'm still here." I stared at myself, or what looked like myself, and spoke for the first time. "What do you want?" The voice replied. Not angry, not vengeful. Just empty. "I want to be remembered." I paused. "What happens if I forget?" "I come through." The mirror fogged instantly. A face formed. Not mine. Not Eloan's. Min's. Eyes black, mouth stitched shut. He said nothing, but his presence screamed. I called Hannah. 3:06 a.m. I saw him. Her voice trembled. I did too. He was in my closet. We didn't need to ask if we meant men. He wasn't gone. He wasn't possessed. He was part of her now. The next morning, we made a choice. We'd go back to the attic. Finish what we started. Not with candles, not with salt. With fire. Total, complete removal. Burn the box. Burn the mirror. Burn the memory. We met at Min's house just after dusk. His mom had finally left town, moved away after getting an anonymous letter about safety concerns. We climbed the attic stairs with lanterns and gloves. The box was still there, but now open. Completely empty. Its interior blackened, charred, and written on the inside in ash, a final message. "You broke the rules." Hannah stepped back. "She's out." "No," I said. "She's everywhere." And then the whisper came again. Not in our ears. In the air. All around us. 3 o'clock. All doors open. "You should have stayed." We poured kerosene on the attic floor. On the box. On the mirror. We struck the match together. And everything went up. Flames swallowed the wood. The shadows danced. The mirror cracked, then shattered from the heat. As the attic burned, we heard a final voice. Not a whisper. Not a scream. Just laughter. Childlike. Then nothing. We walked away without looking back. The fire department arrived too late. No one asked questions. Min's house had been abandoned for days. Hannah moved in with cousins in another city. I deleted every email, every file, every saved post from the last door. And we made a vow to never speak her name again, to never open the door, to never answer at 3 a.m. But even now, sometimes I wake up in the dark, and I swear I hear breathing. Not mine. And then, a whisper, right behind the glass of my closet door. Just one more game. The mirror game. She didn't mean to play the game. Not really. Mara wasn't even part of the original group. She didn't know Min. Never met Hannah. Only heard rumors about a fire, a haunted attic, a boy who went missing. But this town had 1,000 ghost stories, and no one ever believed them. Not until they were too late. Mara was a transfer student, new school, new house. Her family had just moved into the edge of the neighborhood, into a half-renovated fixer-upper that her parents got for cheap. because someone else had pulled out at the last minute. The house had 3 bedrooms, 1 attic, and a mirror in every room. It started the first week. She was brushing her teeth late at night, half asleep, when she noticed something strange. The bathroom mirror fogged over from the steam of the shower except for one spot. A perfect set of letters. Thin, scratchy. "Let me stay." She stared at it, toothbrush hanging from her mouth. At first, she thought it was her brother playing a prank. Then she rubbed her hand across the surface. The message didn't smear. She leaned closer. The letters weren't written on the outside. They were on the inside, etched from within the glass. She didn't sleep that night. The next morning, she asked her mom about the mirrors. Did the previous owners write something on them? Her mom blinked. "No, sweetie. The mirrors are new. The workers installed them last month." Mara nodded. But that didn't explain why the message was still there the next day, or why the next night another appeared. Same mirror, same spot. "I remember you." She took a photo. The flash from her phone made her reflection glitch just for a second. Like there were 2 of her. One in the mirror, one in the room. Both staring. She deleted the photo, but it stayed in her recently deleted folder, and the image had changed. Now the mirror version of her was smiling. Mara wasn't. That weekend, she stayed at her friend Allie's house. Tried to explain what was happening, but Allie just laughed. "Girl, every house in this neighborhood has something creepy. It's the mold or the lead paint or something. Your brain just fills in blanks. Messages don't just appear," Mara said. "Maybe it was the last tenant, or your brother." But that night around 3 a.m. Mara got up to use the bathroom, and in Allie's mirror the message was there again. Same scrawl, same words. "Let me stay." She didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next day, she Googled it. "Let me stay plus mirror plus scratched." Nothing. "Let me stay plus 3 a.m. whispering." Nothing. "Let me stay plus reflection smiling first." That one got a hit. A single thread. Buried in an old horror forum that hadn't been updated in years. The title read, "The Mirror Game Do Not Play." Her stomach dropped. She clicked, and there it was. Rules, warnings, names, and a list of signs. Messages appearing on the inside of glass. Reflections not sensing with movement. Waking up at exactly 3 a.m. The phrase "let me stay." A girl in white behind you, only visible in mirrors. The last line on the post said, "If you see all 5 signs, it's already too late." Mara backed away from her desk. Behind her in the vanity mirror her reflection did not move. It stared, and then smiled. She screamed. Her mom came running, saw nothing wrong. Mara stopped using mirrors. She covered everyone in the house with bed sheets, but they didn't stay. Every morning, the sheets were on the floor, and the mirrors were fogged, sometimes with words, sometimes with handprints, once with her own name, repeated over and over again in jagged black letters. "Mara, Mara, 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 let me stay." It got worse. The lights in her room flickered every night at exactly 3 a.m. Her phone glitched, camera flipping to selfie mode and recording without her touching it. She watched the playback once, just once. It showed her sleeping, and behind her, reflected in the window glass, a girl. Pale, long black hair, stitched like shadows around her mouth, standing still, watching her sleep. Then the video cut to black. She deleted it, but her phone turned back on, and the photo app showed a single new image of her asleep, and scrawled across her chest in red letters, "You said yes." That night, she finally snapped. She went back to the horror forum thread. There was only one reply dated 5 years ago. Just one sentence. "Break the glass before she crosses." So Mara did. She took a hammer from the garage and smashed her bathroom mirror. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Her mom shouted from downstairs, but Mara didn't answer. She moved on to the hallway mirror, then her bedroom vanity. Then the closet's built-in one. She shattered them all. Glass everywhere. Her hands bled. Her arms shook. But she felt relief. For the first time in weeks, she finally felt like she could breathe again. Until the knock. 3 a.m. Knock, knock, knock. Soft. From inside her closet. She opened it. Empty. Except for the final shard of the bedroom mirror, still wedged in the corner. And across its surface, written in something thick, was one final phrase. Breaking it lets me through. The next morning, she left home. Ran away. Her parents filed a report. She was found 2 days later, in an abandoned house 2 blocks away. Catatonic. Rocking in a corner. The walls were covered in mirror shards, taped and nailed and glued. All showing different angles. Different reflections. And in each one, a girl in white, smiling. Mara was committed to a psychiatric hospital. No diagnosis ever fit. She didn't speak, didn't eat, just stared. Until one day she looked directly into the mirror in the hospital bathroom and whispered, "She's still here. She's looking for the next one." Then smiled and walked away. It knows our names. It started the night after the mirror broke. The whispers weren't soft anymore. They called us out loud. At first, it was just our names. Nothing else. Tommy. Hannah. Late at night, round 3 a.m., as always. Sometimes we heard them in the wind. Sometimes from behind the walls. But always in our own voices. I woke up to the sound of myself whispering, "Tommy, come here." I shut up, heart pounding, sweat slick on my forehead. My throat was dry, but I hadn't spoken. I turned on the light, checked the hallway, checked the closet. No one. Then I checked the mirror above my dresser. It was covered, as always, with a dark cloth. But the cloth was soaked. I pulled it back slowly. The mirror was fogged again. And scratched into the surface with what looked like fingernails was my full name. Thomas Eli Cole. Not just Tommy. My full name. Middle name included. Only a few people knew that. I wiped it off, trembling. But the glass didn't clear. Behind my reflection someone else stood. A silhouette. My shape. My voice. Whispering. "You already said yes." Hannah heard it too. That same night, she texted me at 3:14 a.m. She said my name in my voice, repeating it like a lullaby. Like she's trying to make me answer. I didn't respond, because just minutes before I heard my own voice humming. A soft, broken melody. A lullaby my mom used to sing to me when I was sick as a child. Only she was gone now. Had been for years. And I never sang it out loud. Not once. The next day, I tried to go outside. Fresh air, sunlight, anything to clear my head. But as I stepped off the porch, a kid on a bike passed by. He was about 10. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Don't forget your name, Tommy, she needs it," and kept writing like nothing happened. I just stood there, stunned, breath frozen in my throat. Hannah came over that afternoon. Neither of us wanted to be alone. We sat in the living room in silence, blinds drawn, phones off. Then we both heard it. From the hallway. Footsteps. Soft, careful. We turned toward the sound. Nothing there. Then a whisper, clear as day. "Hannah." She froze. That was her voice. And then, "Tommy." It was my voice now. But the sound came from opposite directions. One voice from the hallway. One from the bathroom mirror. We stood, back to back, and listened. The voices kept circling, switching, sometimes laughing, sometimes repeating names, over and over and over. "Tommy." "Hannah." "Tommy." "Hannah." Then they both stopped at the same time, and we heard a third voice. Soft, wet, familiar. "Min." I felt my stomach drop. He was gone. But his name hadn't been said in weeks, and now she was saying it. That night, we tried to stay awake again. We lit candles, drew a new circle, but it didn't matter, because around 3 a.m., the air collapsed. All the candles blew out at once. Our phones died. The flashlight wouldn't turn on. Total darkness. And then a voice. Not in the room. Inside us. In our heads. In our mouths. I felt my jaw move. My lips tremble. But I wasn't in control. And I spoke. "Tommy, why did you leave me?" I turned to Hannah. Her eyes wide. Her face pale. Her lips moved too. But it wasn't her voice. It was mine. "Come back upstairs. Come finish the game." I screamed and clamped my hands over my mouth. Hannah did too. We both backed away from each other. Because we realized something horrible. We weren't just hearing her voice anymore. She was using ours. Like gloves. Like puppets. Like she had learned us. We left the house and didn't look back. Slept in my car that night in the parking lot of a gas station. Didn't speak. Didn't blink too long. At sunrise, Hannah finally whispered, "She doesn't need mirrors anymore." I nodded. "She's inside us." The following day, we drove to towns over. Found a retired medium, someone who used to help cleanse spaces and break spiritual bindings. Her name was Esther. Old, sharp, kind eyes. We told her the whole story. Well, most of it. She listened without interrupting. When we finished, she leaned back and said, "This isn't a ghost." "What do you mean?" I asked. "She's not dead. Not entirely. She's a fragment. A broken soul tied to identity. That kind of spirit doesn't fade, it consumes. Not bodies, names." Hannah blinked. "Names?" Esther nodded. "She doesn't want to haunt you. She wants to become you. One voice at a time. One memory at a time. That's why she repeats your name. That's why she uses your voice. She's learning you. Copying you." "Why?" I asked. "Because once she knows your name completely, she can erase it from the world and take your place." I didn't sleep at all that night. Neither did Hannah. We sat in the motel room and wrote down every place our names existed. Photos, school records, social media, email. We deleted them all. Tried to scrub ourselves off the internet, off the grid. Burned our notebooks, erased voice recordings, deleted videos. Every trace. Because if Esther was right, she only needed one final thing. For us to forget ourselves. And she'd take it all. But the more we deleted, the more the voices grew. Louder, more confident. Now they came during the day. On the street, in the wind, through strangers. I saw a woman at a bus stop mouth my name with no sound. Her eyes rolled back. Hannah heard a cashier say her middle name while scanning groceries. A name not even on her ID. And then, one morning, we woke up, and our own voices sounded wrong. Like echoes. Like someone else had started speaking before we did. We stood in front of the mirror terrified and said our names out loud. Hannah. Tommy. And it felt like a lie. Like we were repeating something we used to be. Not what we were. I called Esther in a panic. "What do we do?" I shouted. She paused, then said, "You need to remember yourselves before she finishes the copy. Anchor your identities with something stronger than her whisper. You need to say your name, the real one, in a place where you were born, where you were formed, something she can't fake. Like a childhood home?" "No," Esther said, "too recent. Think older. Think origin. Go deep. Find the first place you ever said your name and believed it." We left immediately. Road trip. 2 cities. A closed-down daycare. A kindergarten with new owners. An old park with broken swings. Everywhere I remembered calling myself Tommy. I carved my name in a tree where I scraped my knee at 5 years old. I shouted it in the rain. I etched it in chalk across pavement and screamed until my voice cracked. "I'm Tommy. I'm Tommy. You can't have it." Hannah did the same. Her real name. Her true name. Not the one Eloan whispered, but the one she made herself. The one no one could take. And for the first time in weeks the voices went quiet. That night, we slept without interruption. No 3 a.m. whisper. No footsteps. No mirror fog. Just sleep. peaceful, deep. And when we woke up, we said our names aloud, and they felt true. But on the motel mirror, in faint, cracked letters, a new message waited, etched from the inside. Not a threat, not a lie, just a warning. I still know them. The first one leaves, after everything that had happened, after the whispers and the shattered mirrors, after the fire and the voices that copied us. Min was the first to break. He didn't say much, didn't argue when his parents announced the transfer, just packed his bag quietly, avoided our calls, and vanished from school. The day he left, the air hung heavy like the sky was waiting for something to fall. Hannah and I watched him from the bus stop, the last morning we'd see him in person. His eyes were sunken, dark rings like shadows had been carved under them. He didn't look back, didn't wave, just got on the bus and disappeared. I tried texting him later that night. Are you okay? Do you need help? Please talk to me. No reply. Then the strange things started. That same night, at exactly 3 a.m., my phone lit up with a message. From Min. It was just a picture, a blurry photo of a dark room. But in the center, barely visible, was a mirror. And in that mirror was a face. Not Min's, not mine, not Hannah's. A girl in white, her mouth stitched shut, eyes hollow. The caption read, I followed. I stared at the screen for minutes. The phone slipped from my hands. I couldn't breathe. Hannah didn't answer when I called her. 2 days later, I got another message. From an unknown number. It was a text only. She's here. No name, no sender. Just that. I called Min's number again. Straight to voicemail. Then his mother answered. Her voice was hollow. Min hasn't slept since he got here, she said. He won't talk to anyone. I begged her to let me see him. She refused. I'm sorry, she said, voice breaking. He's scared. Scared of what? I knew. That weekend, Hannah and I went to the old neighborhood. We walked the streets Min used to walk, the places where he used to joke and smile. But it was all dead now, a silence heavier than before. When we got to his house, the front door was open. The porch light flickered. We stepped inside carefully. The smell hit us first stale, like wet ash. Then the shadows. They weren't in the corners. They were the corners. Moving, stretching, curling like smoke. The living room was empty, except for the mirror above the fireplace. The glass was cracked, and on it, written from the inside, was a single word. WAIT. We climbed the stairs. Min's room was dark. The bed was made, but the closet door was open. Inside, a single piece of paper taped to the back wall. I pulled it off carefully. Written in shaky handwriting were the words. I tried to run, but she's here now. She won't stop until one of us leaves. I'm sorry. Hannah's breath hitched. We have to find him. We searched for days. No calls, no texts, no sign. And then, one night, Hannah had a dream. She saw Min, standing at the edge of a forest. He looked lost, but calm. Behind him, the girl in white stood watching. Silent, watching. The next morning, Hannah's phone buzzed. A message from Min's old number. I'm leaving. She's not letting me stay. No explanation. No goodbye. I called Hannah immediately. We have to stop him. But how? She whispered. He's running into her. We don't know what she wants. We know what she needs. We raced to the bus station. Min was waiting. Bag slung over his shoulder. Eyes dark but focused. He didn't say hi. Didn't smile. Just said, I have to go. Where? I asked. Anywhere but here. I grabbed his arm. Listen, Min, we can fight this, together. He shook his head. No, she's inside me now. The part I thought was gone, she took it. Tears formed in his eyes. I don't want you to get hurt. Min, don't leave us. He turned to the platform. The bus engine roared. The doors opened. He stepped on, and the doors closed behind him. That night, Hannah and I sat alone. No candles, no salt, just silence. Until 3 a.m. The whispers came, but not from the mirrors, not from the walls, from the darkness outside. A soft voice, calling my name. Hannah's name. Min's name. Days passed. Then the news came. Min had transferred to a new school hundreds of miles away. His parents said he was starting fresh. But the phone calls stopped. The messages stopped. The hope faded. Weeks later, my phone lit up again. A message from Min. Just 2 words. She's following. I stared at the screen and realized the nightmare hadn't ended. It had only just begun. The group falls apart. The nightmare was no longer shared. It had become personal. After Min left, something inside Hannah and me began to crack. Not just the fear, something deeper. A poison creeping into every thought, every shadow. Paranoia. The days after Min's departure were the worst. We stopped talking. Not because we wanted to, but because we couldn't. Every time we tried, the words twisted on our tongues. Suspicion hung between us like thick smoke. Was the other hiding something? Was the other changing? It started small. Hannah forgot things. Simple things. Our plans. The names of people we both knew. Her voice would falter, and she'd stare into space, like she was watching something no one else could see. I noticed her flinch whenever I said Min's name. Maybe you're just tired, I told myself. But the nightmares came back worse. Every night. In my dreams, I saw her, the girl in white. Not the faint, distant figure from before. Now she was close. Too close. Standing behind me. Whispering. Taunting. Her stitched mouth moving without sound. My reflection would twist into her face, then snap back just before I woke. Hannah wasn't spared. She called me once in the middle of the night, voice shaking. They're in my room. Who? The shadows, the voices, they're whispering my name. I told her to breathe, to stay calm, but I didn't know if I believed it. Because the next day, she looked at me like I was a stranger. Eyes cold, unrecognizing. We met at the park, the place where we once laughed and shared secrets. Now, it felt empty, like the life had been sucked out of it. Hannah was distant. Do you trust me? I asked. She blinked. Do you trust yourself? Her words stung. Paranoia was contagious. I began to notice things, little things. Her phone buzzing late at night, always silence before I could see. A locked journal she hid when I came over. Texts deleted before I arrived. I confronted her. She snapped. You're accusing me? After everything? Yes. She stared at me like I'd betrayed her. Hannah started avoiding me. Missed school. Stopped returning calls. Then, out of nowhere, she showed up at my house unannounced. Her eyes wild. Her voice low. I think someone's inside me. Who? I asked. She looked away. I don't know. Our friendship cracked like a shattered mirror. I slept with the lights on. Every noise made me jump. Every shadow seemed alive. I started locking the doors twice, triple checking windows. Hannah stopped answering texts altogether. The nightmares began to bleed into the day. At school, I would see her reflection in the glass, but she wasn't behind me. Sometimes, I caught glimpses of the girl in white standing just beyond the edge of vision. I told a teacher once. She smiled and said, "Stress can play tricks." I wanted to scream. Hannah's hallucinations were worse. She whispered about voices in her head, things crawling under her skin, things telling her secrets no one should know. One afternoon, I found her sitting alone on the swings, rocking back and forth. When I approached, she looked at me and said, "Don't trust Jace." Jace was another friend from the original group. I called Jace immediately. He answered, but his voice was cold. "Look, Tommy, you need to chill. You're losing it." "I'm not," I insisted. "We're all stressed, but don't drag me into this." That night, I couldn't sleep. The group was unraveling. The bonds we had formed in fear were breaking. Everyone was afraid. Afraid of the girl in white. Afraid of each other. Afraid of what they might become. One night, I received an anonymous text. "You're next, don't trust anyone." My blood ran cold. I tried calling Hannah, Jace, anyone. No answer. The paranoia consumed us. We began to suspect one another of hiding pieces of the curse. If Hannah didn't answer her phone, was she hiding something? If Jace avoided eye contact, was he possessed? If Min disappeared, was he running from us or from himself? I began keeping a journal, writing down every strange event, every whisper, every shadow. But even that became dangerous. Once, I found my journal open on my desk. Pages smeared, words crossed out, new phrases written in shaky handwriting. "Remember, remember, remember." I confronted Hannah again. This time, we didn't argue. We cried, both scared and alone. She admitted she'd been hearing voices. I told her I was too. We agreed to meet at the old bookstore where it all began. The bookstore was closed, but the back door was unlocked. Inside, dust covered the shelves. Old posters hung faded on the walls. We sat among the relics of our past. "I feel like I'm losing myself," she said. "I'm scared I'm losing you too." We held hands, and in that moment, the air grew thick. A cold wind blew through the cracked window. The lights flickered, and then we heard it. A soft whisper, almost a sigh. "You can't hide." We ran, out of the bookstore, into the dark streets. But the voices followed, not just in our heads anymore. They echoed through the alleys, through every phone call, every reflection. The group was falling apart. We were trapped, not just by fear, by the thing inside us, by the thing waiting for us to break. The footsteps in the empty room. We hadn't seen each other in weeks. After Min disappeared and Hannah pulled away. After Jace stopped returning messages and everything spiraled into silence. I thought the group was done. Like something had carved us apart clean, sharp, permanent. But then, one night, a message came through. From Hannah. "We need to talk. All of us, tonight." Just that. No emotion. No emoji. No punctuation. And somehow, it felt more urgent than anything we'd said before. We met at Jace's house, neutral ground. It was one of the few places none of us had been since the start. His parents were out of town, and the house was quiet in that too quiet way, like the walls were waiting for something to be said. Jace let us in without a word. Hannah came next, then Leela, who had barely spoken since the mirror burned. We sat in the living room, eyes on the carpet, not each other. No one smiled. No one asked how anyone had been, because we all knew the answer. We were tired, hollow. Being haunted wasn't just a feeling anymore, it had weight. A gravity. You carried it everywhere. Jace broke the silence first. "I've been hearing things." No one laughed. "What kind of things?" Hannah asked. "Whispers," he said. "Not just in my head, in the walls, my closet, even when the music's on. Even when people are home." He looked down. "They say my name." "They say all our names," Leela murmured. "Sometimes even the ones who are gone." She didn't need to say it, man. Hannah clenched her hands together. I leaned forward. We thought burning the box ended it. That was supposed to trap her. It didn't, Jace said flatly. Leela nodded. "She's not just stuck in a mirror anymore." I whispered, "She's inside us now." The room went quiet again. And then we heard it. Thump. Upstairs. A single footstep. Sharp, deliberate. We all froze. Jace stood, pale. No one's home but us. He grabbed a flashlight from the drawer, clicked it on. "I'll check," he said. "No," Hannah said quickly. "We go together." We moved as a group, slowly, quietly, up the stairs that creaked far too loudly for how careful we were. Second floor. Dark. The hallway stretched out before us, dim and cold. The flashlight beam bounced across the walls, catching framed pictures of Jace's familiar smiling faces, frozen in time. Another thump. this time from the far end. Behind the last door. Jace swallowed. That's the guest room. No one goes in there. Has anyone used it? I asked. He shook his head. Not since we moved in. Leela stepped behind me, voice barely a whisper. Do you think it's her? No one answered. We walked down the hall, one careful step at a time, breath shallow. The door was closed. The air felt wrong, heavy, like standing in water. Jace reached for the knob, paused, then opened it. Nothing. The guest room was empty. Bed still made, window shut, no signs of movement. But we all heard it this time. Footsteps. Right above us. Third floor. The attic. I didn't even know you had an attic, Hannah said. Jace nodded slowly. I haven't been up there in years. Another sound. This time creaking wood, not just footsteps. Pacing. Back and forth. We stood beneath the hatch to the attic for a long time, staring up. No one wanted to move. Then Leela whispered, she's waiting. Jace grabbed the pull cord and yanked the stairs down. The wooden ladder extended with a groan. He aimed the flashlight up. Dust floated in the beam like ash. No movement. No voice. Just silence. We climbed. The attic was untouched. Boxes, old furniture, cobwebs, everything looked like it hadn't been touched in years. But the footprints told another story. Dust had been disturbed. Long, thin prints circling the space. Small, childlike, barefoot. They started at the center of the attic and looped around, again and again. I bent down. The prints weren't in a single path. They doubled over themselves like someone had been walking in endless circles, whispering, over and over. There was no one there. But the moment we stood together in that attic, something changed. The flashlight flickered, the air dropped, and the attic door slammed shut behind us. We ran back down, found the ladder still in place, but something had been scratched into the inside of the hatch. 3 words, don't look back. We didn't sleep that night. None of us wanted to be alone. So we stayed in the living room. Lights on, phones charged, no mirrors in sight. We sat there for broken kids on the edge of something worse than fear. Truth. Leela was the first to break the silence. She's not haunting us randomly. We looked at her. She's choosing. Choosing what? I asked. Which one of us is weakest, closest to forgetting who we are? She's copying, Hannah whispered. Just like Esther said. She's already inside men, Jace added. No, I said. Not inside. Becoming. We sat in that idea for a long time. Sometime after 2:45 a.m., the room grew cold again. Our breath turned visible. The lights dimmed, and a single, rhythmic knock echoed from upstairs. Knock, knock, knock. We didn't move. A second knock, then a third, then silence. Then, from the hallway mirror, completely covered in a blanket, something fell. A soft sound, a tap against the hardwood floor. We walked over. The blanket had slipped down. Just a corner, enough to see the reflection of the hallway. But there were 5 people in it, and only 4 of us in the room. I backed away. Hannah stared. Leela gasped, and Jasu walked up to the glass and yanked the blanket fully off. We all froze. In the mirror, we stood together. She smiled and whispered. We heard it inside the glass. I remember you. The mirror cracked, right down the middle. Jace covered it with a sheet again, hands shaking. No more mirrors, he said. No one argued. We left the house before the sun rose. We knew what was coming. We couldn't stop it. Not anymore. But we could try one thing. Remember who we were. Before she did. The new rule. We hadn't been back to the bookstore since the night the footsteps started. But something pulled us there. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was her. The shop was still abandoned, dust clinging to the windows like frost. The door was locked, but Jace knew how to get in through the alley, behind the rusted dumpster, where a boarded window opened just enough to crawl through. We entered one by one. The air was musty and stale, but somehow familiar, like walking back into a nightmare you knew by heart. Everything was just as we left it except for one thing. On the floor, near the old table where we first tried to summon her, something had been placed deliberately. A book. Not a spell book, not a manual, just a tattered, leather-bound diary. We stared at it in silence. Was that here before? Hannah asked. No, Leela whispered. Jace slowly knelt and picked it up. The cover was cracked, the binding fragile. He opened it carefully. The pages were yellowed with age, handwritten in sharp, jagged cursive. At the top of the first page, Journal of KW 1973. We looked at each other. Who's KW? I asked. Jace didn't answer. He turned the pages. The entries were scattered chaotic. Most made no sense. Some looked like they'd been written in the dark, with shaking hands. But one page was marked, folded in the corner, a smear of dried, reddish-brown. He turned to it and read aloud. I heard her the first time in the mirror, but she didn't answer. Not until the third night. Not until I asked the wrong question, and then she stayed. Hannah's breath caught. Leela leaned over. Read more. Jace continued. There's a rule no one tells you when you play these games. A rule buried so deep it feels like a curse passed in whispers. If it answers, it stays. Forever. Until one of you replaces it. Silence. It hung in the air like smoke. My chest tightened. What does that mean? Lila's voice was a whisper. One of us has to replace it. Hannah shook her head. No, that's not right. We didn't agree to that. Jace flipped through more pages. A drawing crude, almost childlike of a girl in white. Hair covering her face, no eyes. A stitched mouth. She's been here before, he said quietly. In 1973, I said. KW summoned her, just like we did. But he didn't finish the game, Leela said. So she never left. I read the rule again, out loud. If it answers, it stays, forever, until one of you replaces it. It wasn't a ghost. It was a cycle, a ritual, and we had started it all over again. What happens if we don't replace her? Jace asked. No one answered. But the answer was obvious. She stays, and we all rot from the inside out. I'm not going to be the one, Hannah said suddenly. I'm not going to be her next shell. No one's replacing anyone, I said. We're going to end it. How? Leela snapped. We tried burning the mirror. We tried destroying the box. We tried forgetting. She's still here. Because we let her answer, Jace said. We all turned to him. He flipped further in the journal. Another entry, scrawled like a scream across the page. She only needs to speak once. That's how she crosses. That's when she learns your name. When you answer back, you open the door. Wait, I said. That night when we played the game, did anyone hear her before we asked? Hannah nodded slowly. I thought it was an echo. Lila's face went pale. I answered her. So did I, Jace muttered. And me. I remembered now. That cold voice. That whisper behind the question. And I answered without thinking. The trap wasn't in summoning her. It was in replying. We hadn't just opened the door. We'd invited her in. Jace stood. There's got to be a way to reverse it. If it's a ritual, maybe we can undo it. Hannah was pacing. Every ritual has rules, steps. Leela looked toward the basement door in the back of the bookstore. We've never gone down there. We turned toward it. The handle was rusted. The light above flickered. And for the first time since we arrived, we heard her voice. Soft, low, a child's whisper. One of you must stay. We froze. It came from the basement. Jace grabbed the flashlight. Leela held the diary. We went down, one step at a time. The staircase groaned beneath us. Dust rose in clouds with every breath. The basement was cold, damp. The walls were lined with shelves of old books, stacked haphazardly, some moldy, some half-burned. And in the center of the floor was a circle, carved into the concrete. A summoning circle. The same one we had drawn upstairs that first night. Only older. Deeper. Permanent. Leela bent down. Someone did it here first. 1973, Jace said. In the center of the circle sat a mirror. Cracked. Clouded. And a single word was written across its surface. In blood. Choose. We stared. She was watching. Waiting. I stepped back. No, we're not doing this. We have to finish it, Jace said, or we stay cursed. Forever. What if finishing it means sacrificing someone? I asked. Then we find another way, Hannah said. Because I'm not playing her game. Leela opened the diary again. Flipped to the last page. Her hands trembled as she read aloud. To stop her, you must trap her. Not destroy, not banish, only trap. She lives in answers, in recognition, in names. Starve her of those, and she weakens. But to seal her again, someone must choose silence, must refuse her final question, must walk away from the circle without ever turning back. The lights flickered again. Something moved behind us. A whisper at the edge of the room. Who will stay? My heart pounded. She wants one of us to speak, Hannah said. To accept, Jace whispered. To replace her, Leela finished. I looked at the mirror. Fog coated the inside. A shadow formed. Then fingers. Then her. The girl in white. Inside the glass. Mouth stitched, slowly unraveling. The threads pulled away, one by one, like old string. She was almost ready to speak. I'll do it, Jace said suddenly. We turned to him. No, Hannah began. He shook his head. I started this. I dragged us into it. I'll walk away. I won't answer. I grabbed his arm. If you walk away and look back, you're gone. I know. He stared into the mirror. The girl's face pressed closer. Her mouth now open. Lips twitching. Teeth like needles. Jace. He stepped into the circle. Took a breath. And turned his back on the mirror. She whispered. Jace. He didn't reply. Took a single step forward. Another. The whisper grew louder. Jace. He kept walking. Hands clenched. Tears in his eyes. Jace, look at me. He paused. We held our breath. His fingers trembled. Then he stepped out of the circle. And never looked back. The whisper stopped. The mirror shattered. Dust filled the air. The lights flickered. Then went still. Silence. Then laughter. Soft. Distant. From everywhere. And nowhere. We ran. Out of the basement. Out of the bookstore. Into the dark. But the damage was done. Because as we reached the street, Leela looked at me with wide eyes and said, I think she knows we're not finished yet. And in the broken glass of a shop window behind us, the reflection of the girl in white still stood, smiling. Too late. We thought we won. We thought the mirror breaking meant it was over. That Jace walking away without answering had sealed the door forever. But we were wrong, because that night, one of us disappeared. And the ghost didn't leave. It just got patient. It started with silence. Leela stopped texting. Didn't show up at school. Didn't answer calls. Her house was locked, lights off, curtains drawn. I thought maybe she needed space. We all did. But something felt different. Not like she was hiding. Like she was gone. Hannah and I sat on the curb outside her place for over an hour. No sign. No sound. Even her dog wasn't barking. I don't like this, Hannah whispered. I nodded, heart heavy. Maybe she's just scared, I said, though I didn't believe it. We both knew what fear looked like. This was something else. We went home that night with a pit in our chests. I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the rule. If it answers, it stays. But we hadn't answered. Jace had resisted. We followed the instructions, right? So why was the ghost still here? Why did the air still feel heavy? Why did I still see movement in mirrors I knew were empty? And most importantly, where was Leela? The next day, I found it. Taped to my locker. A single, torn sheet of paper. written in Lila's handwriting. Shaky, barely readable. I didn't look back. I didn't answer. But she still followed. Because one of us already did. Someone already broke the rule. I showed it to Hannah after school. She stared at the page, unmoving. Then whispered. Who answered? We stood in silence. Then something clicked. My heart sank. The night we first played the game, the exact order. Who asked the question? Who responded? Who went first? It was me. I remembered now. Clear as day. Everyone had gone silent when the lights flickered. We were scared. But I was the one who broke the silence. The first to ask, "Are you there?" The first to hear that soft whisper. The first to whisper back, "Yes." A reflex. Barely a word. But enough. "I think I broke the rule," I said. Hannah looked at me, horrified. "No," we all answered. "Not first," I said. Not before she spoke. That night, Lila's house was declared abandoned. Her parents filed a missing person report. No signs of struggle. Just gone. Like she'd never existed. Her room was still intact, but her reflection, her face and pictures was blurred, smudged out. Even on her phone, the lock screen was black. No contacts, no messages, no memory of her. Hannah and I walked through her room the next day. The air was cold, still, and on her desk sat her mirror, cracked down the center. In the foggy glass, we saw two shapes, ourselves, and behind us, the girl in white, smiling, waiting. We knew what she wanted now. Not fear, not worship, not even a name. She wanted to replace, to erase. And now she had Lila. Because of me. Because I answered. Because I let her in. We ran to Jace's. He didn't answer. But the door was unlocked. His house was dark, quiet. He sat alone in the living room, staring at the covered mirror. "I know," he said, without looking at us. "She's still here. She took Lila," Hannah whispered. He nodded slowly. "I saw it in my dreams. She's not finished." I stepped forward. "We followed the rules." "No," Jace said. "You did what the diary said." "But that wasn't a manual," he added. "It was a warning." The truth hit me like a punch to the gut. We hadn't ended the ritual. We'd only restarted it. Broken the mirror? Good. Refused her call? Fine. But the game only stops when no one answers. And I had already answered. Before I even knew the rules. "She's not staying anymore," Jace said. "She's watching." "For what?" Hannah asked. He looked up at us, eyes hollow, to see who breaks next. That night, I dreamed again. I was back in the bookstore, alone, a mirror in front of me. My reflection stared back, then smiled, and said, in my voice, "It's okay, just say something. You already did once." I stepped back, but my reflection moved forward, leaning closer, lips parting, needle-sharp teeth inside. "You already belong to me." I woke up gasping, room freezing cold. The mirror across from my bed fogged up, 3 letters written into the glass. "Why yes." I smashed it. Shards flew, but I didn't stop. I tore every reflective surface out of my room, covered the windows, unplugged the TV, broke my phone. If she lived in mirrors, if she traveled by voice and reflection would give her nothing. No image, no sound, no name. Hannah did the same. We met outside, both looking like we hadn't slept in days. "She's narrowing in," I said. "She has Lila, maybe Min too." Jace walked up, pale as death. "She won't stop," he said, "until one of us replaces her." That afternoon, we returned to the bookstore. One last time. Everything was gone. The mirror in the basement, shattered into dust. The carved circle, now glowing faintly beneath the floor, like a wound refusing to heal. In the center was a single object, a cassette tape, unlabeled. Jace picked it up. There was an old player nearby. We looked at each other, then hit play. The tape hissed, crackled, Then, a voice. Not just any voice. Lila's. If you're hearing this, it means I'm already gone. But not erased. Not yet. She took me, but I left something behind. Something she can't use. A rule. The last one. The one she hides. The tape cut for a moment. Then her voice again. This time softer, scared. Don't speak in your own name. Not after midnight. Not when you're alone. And never ever say it while looking in a mirror. She needs your name and your image to fully become you. Break the mirror. Forget the name. Starve the memory. That's the only way. Silence. Then one last whisper, barely audible. I hope this is enough. I hope you remember me. If not, I'll see you in the reflection. The tape ended. None of us spoke for a long time. Then Hannah whispered, what if it's already too late? Jace looked at me. I think it is. Because as we stood in the bookstore, surrounded by dust and cracked glass, I realized something was wrong. Very wrong. Hannah's reflection in the broken window wasn't hers. The head tilted differently. The mouth smiled. And behind her, in the real world, Hannah didn't smile. She looked terrified. Eyes wide. Frozen. Mouth silently mouthing one word. Run.